seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of SA Soccer Roundtable. My name is Harry. I'll be your host for the evening. Joining me tonight, Royce. Happy belated birthday to you. Hopefully
Thank
you
you.
had a great birthday. And
Yeah, it was fun.
Rafa, I recognize you this week. Welcome back. So a lot to get to, SAFC and just kind of news around there for it here. Any high school news that you have, Rafa, that's coming up? I know it's still, high school's getting ready to kick off, but not the high school soccer season. Anything exciting that we want to share, maybe about Coach Cano?
I know Coach Cano now. I just want to say congratulations to him. He's now the director of coaching, and I think he's the head girls soccer coach at St. Mary's Hall High School. So congrats to him, and I know he'll do a really good job with them, and hopefully, like I said, turn that program around and get back where they were before, in competition with the state championship. And I'm still waiting to see who. I know it's coming down to the wire since school starts in a couple of weeks. Who the new Churchill boys head soccer coach is going to be? So that should be interesting. Who takes over that program? And I know that program, it's up and coming. I think they're going to be the ones that challenge Lee this coming year. I know they had a lot of talent coming back, so we'll hopefully I can find out who the new coach is and see. Like I said, his credentials and all that, the background, and what vision he has going forward into the season.
Should be interesting, for that here. I know club soccer is starting to pick up around town now. I know AJ starts practice, so our scheduling may change. We're going to do Sunday, but then next Sunday, SAFC RGV plays. So next week might be a to be determined. Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, we'll have to play it by ear on next week. But we're hoping to get back to maybe a Sunday schedule going forward, for the week here.
Or we can we'll talk about it later, but we could do a pre-game show, or we could do a during the game show. So,
well, I'm planning on since I got the Monday off. I looked at the time off and there was time available, and I'm like, sent a message to my wife, hey, do you mind?
Lucky. She
said sure, and I was like, just the boys or the family? And she's like, just the boys. So I was like, all right, we'll roll. So it should be exciting. I know the Czechs are planning on going down there, obviously, of course. They typically always go down to there, so should be interesting. I know Sunday matches are hard to make with the following work day the next day, and it's a 4-hour drive down and back, 4.5 hours. If you're doing the speed limit for that here. So let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, which was the El Paso match. They unfortunately lost 2-1 on here, and then kind of looking at the lineup here, Cardoni, Gleadle, DePlane, Schloberg, Maloney. So we had, I think, our starting back four finally. Abu, Lindley, Cuello, Jose, Epps, and Nathan. So, Royce, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the lineup? Any changes? Any surprises? Any shocks? Or this is the go-to, without PC being healthy, obviously.
So without Patino and without PC being healthy, this is basically it. That back line is pretty much what we what Alan Marcinez wanted pretty much the entire season, especially with the fullbacks, with Maloney and Galito out there. That's huge. And that's really that, and obviously having a natural six, a natural center defensive midfielder. That's what we've needed, and that's really the key to us turning things around. And at the same time, that's also helping with chances that we're more quality chances that we're creating, is because our forwards are allowed to go forward more and not worry about coming back and defending and helping. You know, whenever we had to Plane as a right back, he doesn't have the pace that a Sam Gleedle or Connor Maloney has. So it's that this is the lineup right now, especially with, like you said, PC being hurt, with Patino being hurt. That's it. And I think coming into this season, Marcina, this is kind of the formation he wanted. He wanted that double pivot in the midfield. He wanted 3 or 4 forward, and I think this is Marcina ball. We're seeing it.
Your thoughts on it, Rafa?
It's just your typical lineup that we've seen. I think the incarnation started when we did the friendlies, and eventually that's when we added our regulars in, minus PC. But then he came back, but now he's out. But having Muhammad Abu was a big pickup.
Huge.
And he's really was the missing piece, just to solidify, with being PC down, we don't miss a beat with him. So he's gonna be a big factor along the way. And like I said, plus it gives PC time to really kind of heal. I'd rather have him at 100% maybe than 80%. So
absolutely, that's a good point.
Yeah, it buys us time for him. And then, what can you say about Nathan? He's just been on a roll, and that's going to be a tough decision when Patino comes back. How do you keep him on? You stay with a hot hand like you're in the Vegas throwing the in the slot machines and so forth, or do you go back with Patino? So, but that's a good problem to have, because you have good quality, and then you said you also had Dylan into the mix, so you got 3 good quality forwards that you can use going into these real pivotal games coming up in August and September. So we're in good shape. And yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, just what that also can bring up is, if you remember in the beginning of the season and preseason, we're running out of 4-4-2, very much like the Austin Bold deployed against us. We'll get to that match later, but they also had that 4-4-2, and it was tough to break them down until they kind of undid themselves. But it was really tough to get through them, and they pressed really well, and that's what I think Marcino wanted to do, and have his 2 forwards do a lot of damage. And can you imagine a hot Patino and a hot Nathan on a counterattack, possibly with Gallegos on a wing? That could be a heck of a combination later this year, or maybe even in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes.
So I think the story about El Paso is going to be this play here, because this play, I think, changed the game here. And this is courtesy of the highlights of SA and El Paso from USL Championship. This is picking up around the 14:46 for it here. El Paso's got a corner, and here's where we're going to see the quote-unquote handball by USL Pro.
Come up and deal with it. I know my 6'8" friend is watching at home back in New Hampshire. It's actually Matt Boehner, I believe, who played at FC Cincinnati, who's in his 2nd season. He probably had a hand up here early.
And it goes head to hand.
Looks like his left forearm. A couple of questionable sequences here early on. But again, it's Lucho Solidiak who will step forward to the spot. Stutter step and puts it away for good this time.
So they didn't do the other one.
Yeah, no, in the highlights they completely skipped the first attempt. But what we saw there is the cross comes in, which first of all, Jose lost his man there. Jose was more looking for the counter, completely forgot about the guy at the end of at the edge of the box. That's his right there at the edge of zone 14. He puts the ball in, it rattles around in the area of indecision, and it goes off of DePlane tries to head it. He heads it slightly, and then it slightly goes off his forearm at the same time. Ref calls a penalty. Typically, you don't see those given because normally that's
Well, per the new rule, it's not supposed to. If it's an immediate deflection
it's
off of a head,
correct.
foot,
Ball to hand.
whether
exactly.
it's off of him as an individual or even off of an El Paso
Somebody
player.
else. Yeah.
If it's an immediate player, unless you're sticking out like this, which
Yep.
he was not doing,
Nope.
technically it's not supposed to be called.
Exactly. And his hand was in a pretty tucked in position. I don't know where your hand's supposed to be when you're in there trying to jump. His hand's inside. So a very typical ticky-tack penalty that goes against SAFC, and a handball in the box that's called against SAFC, whether it's New Mexico scoring a goal off their guy handling the ball or our guy getting unjustly called for a handball in the box. We seem to run into those a lot, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. So big surprise that rears its ugly head, but there you go. And then to continue the
confusion, Lucho kicked first, scored, ref stopped it, pointed to San Antonio FC like it was going to be an indirect free kick, back for them, or a direct free kick back for them. Went over to the AR. And Lucho, and this call was right if he called it, infraction on El Paso going into the box. And, listening to the SAFC broadcast, and you could argue, did Lucho stop or not? I think he did, but
it's rarely called, but it has been called. Yeah, it's not like it's never been called before. It has been called, but
the infraction that they're talking about, I don't understand why you're making that call. Number one, it had zero to do with what to me, it had added a second layer of compounding and the confusion on the PK, because his actions that he initially didn't point for a re-kick. He clearly pointed going the other direction.
Correct.
And and then of course, that's I'm not, he ended up getting the call right if it was infraction ends, because if you score, it is a retake, per the rules. So if he's calling that is the right call. I just question because you couldn't see the infraction on the TV, so how bad was it really? Right. But your thoughts on the PK situation there, Rafa?
That's inexcusable by the ref. He made the call as far as the infraction made by Lucho on that. That should have been a free kick, indirect kick for us. I think honestly.
But if he calls the infraction, though, it per the rules of the game, it is a retake if he makes it. If he misses it, then it would be San Antonio's, free kick. But if he makes it, it's a retake. So if you're going to call the infraction, technically he got it. I just think you could tell it was something that he hadn't really called before, because until he went and talked, to the AR, he didn't know what he gave the appearance that he didn't know what he was doing. I'll say that he may have knew, and he may have signaled the wrong way. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but the appearance that he let off is he had no clue what he was calling.
I think that goes back to now justifying maybe the USL, maybe for these type of situations, having VAR. I don't see why they just can't have it, just for this for clarification, on these little things, and also even for the handball too. I know like today the Premier League release, they're going to be very, let's just say, strict as far as the handball calls, but they're not going to be giving handball calls for any little flimsy, thing, hit off the shoulder kind of deal, what happened there. So I think that's something they really need to discuss going into the next year. But I think that, like I said, that kind of killed our momentum a bit and that did change the game.
Well, it changed it. El Paso is a team. If they get ahead, generally speaking, you're not going to end up winning that game. Generally speaking,
they in our division, they have given up the least amount of goals, and it's no surprise because of, especially after the last Austin game, which we'll get to, but it's just really hard to score against them. They really compact the box. They have Lucho kind of go up by himself, and they're more keen on playing a 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1, and they'd rather not give up a goal and not score than score a goal and give up a goal. So that's their mentality. That's what their coach wants them to play, and they do it pretty dang well. And they've been lucky enough to stay relatively healthy this whole season, so they've been able to do it pretty well. And you have a quality striker like Lucho Solniak up there, and he can be by himself, and he can hold up, he can run and play. That's they're afforded to do that, and they can do that, and that's pretty much what they did in this match after that PK.
And to me, they're a very underrated team on the attacking side. You got Lucho, you've got Diego Luna, who scored the second goal. But coming off the bench is one of my favorites. Is Sebastian Velasquez, who assisted on that second goal. Him coming off the bench, to me, you put him, Diego, and Lucho up. That's a pretty solid top three. That especially if they're doing the countering like they love to do. They may not be a league leader. They may not be Phoenix in scoring goals, but they're going to be able to get that one goal that they need. Most of the games, and that's what it's been a successful formula. As we've discussed, they're the last 2 years Western Conference finalists. They haven't won it, for it here, but they've been in the game, and so far this year, they've only got one loss, and that was to RGV and RGV. So it's hard to argue with the success that they're having for that here. But thoughts on outside of the PK, for that here with, because I know that was that kind of set the tone for the night, I think, for the stadium, for the fans. I know I was focused on it and, probably a little bit too much. But,
right. Just continuing on kind of the gameplay, and that's kind of continuing from it. Like, basically what the PK did was it afforded El Paso to stay a little bit deeper, which they did. They were more reluctant to go forward. They're more likely to give it to Lucho, who had a tough time connecting play because Mo was on him, and Mo is much quicker than Lucho. So they had a difficult time coming out, but they didn't care about coming out. They just wanted to defend. So what ended up happening was they defended, and what El Paso likes to do is a very similar thing that New Mexico does, where they really just plug in that area in front of the goal. The wings they're not too concerned about. They really like plugging in that area in front of the goal, which they did very successfully. It was very tough for whenever Quayle got the ball, he had maybe a half a second to make up his mind before he got pressed on. So we started going outside, and that's when you saw all the dribbling. I think we had double their take-ons in this match, and that's where you saw Epps go on the right, you saw Jose go on the left. They would switch. Epps would actually be as the 9. Nathan would come out wide, and then they would dribble. And you just had a lot of dribbles down the line, and one of them got through, and that was Gallegos. This is just before halftime, sent in a wonderful cross to Nathan. Nathan looked up before he caught the ball, typical wide receiver thing. When you look to turn before you catch the ball bounced up on him, and he kicked it right over the net. It was him and about 3 yards of grass, and then the net. There was nobody in front of him, and he kicked it right over the goal, which would have tied it. And that would have changed the aspect of the match, and it would have evened it up, obviously. And it would have been very interesting in the second half. But if some butts are candy and nuts, that's not how things went. Nathan missed it. We go on. We're down 1 at halftime. Go ahead, Rafa.
That was a key play there. That had we put that one in the net, they would have pretty much kept things wide open. But one thing I do want to see more consistent as far as is switching the game of play, which we did see in the Austin game, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think in order for if a team's going to be doing that, and this is just out of experience, if you're gonna park the bus, you gotta play the ball quick up the field, and also switch the game of play because you'll have numbers there to take advantage of and get the space that you need to send crosses in or get shots in. And I think like this with Cuello, he needs to just trust himself to taking shots from outside.
Yeah.
You have that little second, that little space of 1 second of space to shoot it, take the shot. Even if you don't hit it, if it hits the post or off the keeper, Nathan or Gallegos or Epps is gonna be there to pick
There's
to hit it.
there's a saying in hockey, if you put the ball on net, good things happen. So just put the puck to the net, good things will happen. Bounces will go your way. Just do that. And that was one thing and that was a direct result with us attacking the wings. It would pull apart their midfield. Their 8 had to go out. Their 6 would have to go out, which is exactly what they did against us. And we started doing that. That's why we started dribbling out the wings, because that would pull them to try to overload to help out. And when that happened, that allowed space right there in zone 14, right there, that we've had a problem with. El Paso had a big problem with. Cuello would get the ball. He would just take too long to decide what he wanted to do with it. And if he were, like you said, to put some shots on frame, just put some shrapnel there, who knows?
But
what
I think
could
that
happen.
opens it up too. You take a couple of shots from the outside. They can't sit back because they got to come up and stop it. So that opens up a little bit more.
That's correct. And that's why you need to find that space in between the lines. And Cuello was really good about finding that space between their lines. He just was not very productive with the ball.
And eventually with something like play like that defender's going to come up and it's going to lead to opportunities through a through ball for Nathan to come from the back or for Gallegos on the wing. But also, like I said, the switching the game is a key, switch the game of play from one side to the other side. I like to see more of that because I think we have the players that are effective. We have the speed on the outside, and I think it stops teams from overloading on one side, like what El Paso is doing. If we can switch it up to kind of like one of the goals Mohammed sent on the pass against New Mexico, that was from one side to the other.
It was exactly that was a switch from the 6. He had all the time and space in the world because they were not attacking in the middle. They were trying to go out the wings. Well, they were trying to go up one wing, the right wing in particular. And Mo had a lot of time. He found Jose right there on the right, and Jose went to the inline, crossed it in for Nathan for that first goal. You're right.
Yeah, so we need to be faster there. And I think if we can accomplish that, that's going to lead to more opportunities and I think more goals. And like I said, it's really going to make things a lot easier for our offense to get goals on the net. So,
but there are clear signs that is a game model that Alan Marcino wants, and it's very clear, and you can see it happen every time it happens. What we need is to get a consistent lineup on the field to play with each other, to get the reps in, to know where people are, and those things will come naturally. And that's why I hope everybody's lighting their candles. Light your candles. Get away this injury bug from us, because if we are to get a consistent lineup, we can continue this really good form that we're on, and we can only get better, and we can go in really hot into the playoffs.
Here's a thought that I had. So you'd see this a lot with Jose and Epps. When they were doing their drives in, instead of coming down to the end line, they would cut it short at the top of the box and go more into the meat of the defense. Mm-hmm. Where one of the things were, especially on El Paso's second goal, Sebastian went all the way down to the line, then cut it back, and I think it opens up a little bit more. So especially that game where you had Jose and Epps doing a lot of the dives, trying to 1-on-1. I would have liked them to come down a little bit further. Then that would open up the ability to cross a little bit more. You may not have had the angles to shoot, and that may be kind of the counter to that. But I think if you can continue to go out wide and then cross it back in to Nathan in the middle, your thoughts on that?
On top of this, six actually on that play. If you see on that play, normally the goalkeeper is going to cover his post. Mm-hmm. So the option there, once you get close to the end line, is the top of the 6, and that's where the El Paso player scored his goal. That's where
Mhm.
Quayle would be at, and that's where he would have to take shots.
Basically,
on
the penalty
on
spot.
the first, yeah. So, or even on top of the 18. That's
Mhm.
I think we need to find more of those plays because Nathan's going to attract attention. I think he's already attracting
Yep.
even two defenders. So if he
Oh,
can
yeah.
do that, attract 2 defenders, but he also has to finish his runs without the ball, maybe near side. That's going to open our attacking mid with a little Quayle or who's the other one?
Epps.
Epps or even
Ollie.
Boo, yeah, or whoever's
Cam.
up there.
Talking about
Or
Lindley.
Cam. Yeah, Cam. Yeah.
Coming in from the midfield. Yeah.
So that's going to open space for a shot,
Mhm.
and I think Jose and Epps have to trust that play.
Yep.
You know, and if it doesn't, hey, we can still steal the ball there, even if it gets intercepted. We can steal the ball there. So hopefully we can see more of that. I think that'll give more opportunities in the long run for us. Because right now we don't have anybody unless you have Dylan in or Patino in.
Correct.
That's when you can send the cross up in the air.
I'm going to kind of shit on everything y'all are saying right now. That's exactly what we're doing. If you notice the first goal against New Mexico, Gallegos went to the end line, crossed the back, Nathan in the goal. The first goal that should have been just before the half ended in the first half for against El Paso, same exact play. Jose goes right to the end line, crosses it back. Nathan just kicked it over the bar. And that happens, but they change it up and they would rather cut back and do kind of a Cruyff turn, cut back and go toward the end. And I'll tell you exactly why. I've noticed this on a lot of runs is typically whenever you get a guy going down the end line, you get a guy that's going to stop on the penalty spot and you get a guy that's going to continue the run toward the back post. The guy going toward the back post is going to occupy the center backs. That guy on the penalty spot is going to be right by himself. He's going to get the cross and cross it in. The problem is Quayle has not been able to get that far forward. So typically you'll see them cut across the box. Nathan will still take his run that'll go back to the back post to get people away. Abu actually did this for Gallegos' goal. Nathan had the ball running. Abu was next to him. Abu just kept going straight like he was going to get a pass. That pulled back one of the center backs, I guess that would be the Austin left center back who's on the right side of San Antonio. He went with Abu. So that means the left one had to come back and stay in the center, which allowed Jose to turn right. And that's how he scored in the right corner. It was basically Abu's run that he continued whenever Nathan had the ball to get it back to Gallegos. He really pulled a defender back and that allowed Gallegos to go through. So it's all about finding the space. It's all about pulling defenders, and that's what they're doing right now. I understand what you're saying about that, but at the same rate, that may have been a good thing to do against El Paso because we were down 1 and we needed to score. But against Austin, you're not going to see the 10 go that far up just because we were up. The 10's going to stay back and help defend. You're not going to give up a goal just to score a goal. So.
Right, but I think to me the reason why I pointed out is it seemed like, and I know it's probably more in my head, but it just seemed like you'd get to the top of the box and then instead of trying to go down, they would cut in when they had that clear lane.
Right.
Well, normally, Harry, when our winger does take the ball down the wing, they're supposed to angle themselves right at the corner of the 18,
right,
which allows them to, and that gives them 2 choices: one, to create the shot, or send the pass to the backside of the post. Because, like I said, goalie's going to cover near ball side all the time. So the option is sending that pass to the backside. And I think Gallegos and Epps have to be more if you're going to do that, dribbling that, you have to be more consistent as far as taking the shot, which they both can take the shots because they can shoot from outside.
Correct.
Or trust it and send the pass in the backside. Even if we don't get the ball, if they knock it off, to the outside, we get a corner kick. That's what we want. We want, we want to keep them there, and they're attacking them there and their end of the area, keeping them away from our end. So I think that's
Yeah, and it's also there's 3 real quick points. You have to change it up all the time because defenders are going to learn what you're going to do. Number 2, you need another guy in the box if you're going to pull back like that to stay on the penalty spot. So if it's just Nathan, you're not going to go to the inline and cross back.
Right.
It's going to be tough. And number 3, you kind of go where the defender allows you to go. So if the defender is shaped to push you out to the inline and he lets you go there and you beat him every time. If he's shaped to try to stop you from going to the inline, you're going to cut back and you're going to go to the goal every time. You're going to let the defender do what he allows you to do, and then you're going to beat the rest of the team. That's kind of where that goes. So,
Royce, any numbers from the SAFC El Paso game that stand out that you want to point out since you're our analytics guy?
So in the El Paso match, El Paso, once again, we out-chanced them. We had more chances, but El Paso had more dangerous chances and big chances. The one chance that we created was that Nathan chance that he just skied over the bar. We haven't finished up the gameplay. I'll finish it up in a little bit. And then El Paso had 3 chances. Cardone had a really good save before the PK in the first half. They also had the obviously the PK. That's a pretty clear chance. And then the Luna goal that happened. So let's continue with play. Second half begins. SAFC really goes for it. El Paso really gums up the works. They defend really well. And then they get a nice goal on a counter. Sebastian Velasquez, like you said, fresh back from Israel. Glad you're back, man, after that bombing campaign. I know he and his family, we talked about this already. Anyway, continuing on.
Bad team choice, but glad you're back.
Yeah. That is 100% correct. He goes to the inline, cuts it back to Diego Luna, who's waiting, like we said, at the penalty spot. He gets the ball at the penalty spot. He has time because he gets behind Abu and shapes it to go around Cardone on the right side. And it's 2-0 El Paso at that point. So
that was in the 71st minute too, by the way.
Correct. So El Paso really goes deep and just sits deep. Lucho goes off. They bring on another 9. I think that's the right sequence. That may not be.
No, Luna goes off because
Lucho. Solniak.
Should have been.
No,
right
Solniak didn't go off till the 87th minute.
Okay.
Luna went off because he had a yellow in the 37th minute.
Because he almost got a red.
Should have gone a yellow.
He had some close calls. We'll just say
he should have had 3 or 4 yellows, to be honest. But hey, with USL, you never know. Some guys get yellows for almost no reason, and then some guys. I mean, it's very much like watching Hector Herrera kick a dude in the head and barely get a yellow, which is embarrassing. Anyway, it's like every ref is Angel Hernandez. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's a baseball joke. If anybody is a baseball fan, let's continue. Like I said, El Paso really defends deep after they go up 2-0. We come up and we win a foul. Probably halfway between the midfield line and the box. Cam Lindley with another wonderful service piece right on the head of Schuberg, and Schuberg clips it near post, and game on 2-1. And after that, SAFC we kind of did what Harry was suggesting, is dribbling down the sides, trying to get to the inline and crossing it back to try to use our height. They brought Dylan in to try to get on a header. They even sent the center backs up a couple times, and it just didn't work out. It's just one of them. We ended up losing 2-1, and it was a rough result. But I felt that the teams were pretty evenly matched, and it honestly surprised me. I thought El Paso would come in, and we would never create any chances. That their defense would really hold well, and that's kind of not what happened. SAFC looked pretty good against them, despite that first undeserved penalty.
I thought SAFC was the better team on the night. I'll say it. I think
I thought they were even. Maybe you can give the edge to SAFC because El Paso may have been playing for the draw until they got that garbage penalty. But I thought SAFC looked really good against El Paso in that.
The best team, probably the top 2 team
they only controlled maybe 15 minutes of that second half.
Yeah,
That's when El Paso was really.
it's when they countered. Yeah, when they defended
But
really
then
deep
after that-
and they countered and they got that goal. Yeah,
But after that, it was basically SAFC pretty much controlled the whole game.
yeah.
And to me, out of we didn't get the result that we wanted, but it
Yeah.
does say that it does shows that El Paso is not the elite team.
They're not
that-
invincible. I don't want to say that
they're an
they're
elite.
elite.
They are-
in the
They're an
They're an
series.
elite,
They're
like
not
elite
invincible.
as far as invincibility.
Right.
They are vulnerable. If you can, like
For
I
sure.
said, if you can get a lead and take care of it, or keep on putting multiple goals on them, you can beat this team.
Oh, very much so.
I think San
that was
Antonio
something
matches
that, yeah.
well up with them, and
I agree.
that's the key is out of the teams in the Mountain Division. I think RGV matches up well with them, and San Antonio FC matches up with them because they're physical teams. They can handle the physicality of El Paso, which not a lot of teams can. And I think the difference where I think that San Antonio has over RGV and even El Paso is they're a more complete team.
Yeah.
They got to get healthy. That's the big thing.
100%.
They've got to get consistency. But I think once they get that lineup going in and out, maybe a little bit of rotation due to just the number of games. But talent-wise, I think we are on par, if not better than them. I think coaching-wise, I like El Paso's coach, so I think they probably have a little bit of an advantage. If the coaching-wise, and I know Royce is shaking his head, but
disagree. Wholeheartedly disagree. No.
I'm not saying it's off, but I think we have just a slightly better roster. I think they have a slightly better coach.
I think we have
one of the
all
players. I think they can make a difference. I guess on this go around once he gets healthy, I think they can take care of Soniak. Will be Kamiri. I think Kamiri's fit. I think I would substitute Axel out for Kamiri in that game because you want to get a physical player, and I think he can match up with him. And I think Kamiri would pretty much not allow him to touch the ball.
So the reason why I think despite injury, obviously, but I think the reason that Axel has started these last two matches is because of how ridiculous that dude is in the air naturally.
Yeah.
And in both El Paso and Austin crossed. Austin much more than El Paso, but they enjoy a cross, especially because Soniak's there. Soniak's, he's going to head it. That's kind of what he does. So there are a lot of crosses for both teams. But I think that's why Axel was there to negate Lucho there, his presence in the air, which he definitely, if you're going to put the plane out there, you got to have Axel there to clear it out of the air. So I think that's why, despite injury, I think that's why Kamiri wasn't there. I think Kamiri's good with his feet. And so I think the next round you could have Doyle and Jasser. I think that'd be a very interesting center back pairing, or you have Axel and Jasser. I kind of agree with that physicality. That might be a good thing against Lucho
because that'll allow
playing at
Axel,
the same time.
That'll free up Axel to do what he needs to do, and he won't have to be too. Like I said, I know he's 6'7", but he's not as kind of built like Lucho, but Kamiri is. He's.
Right.
I think he can really shut him down, and really fluster him. And I think that hopefully if he does get healthy, hopefully this game or the next one, I would start both of those two there in the center mid and just have Kamiri all over Lucho the whole game and just kind of stick with him
man mark basically. But I would say don't discount the job that DePlane has done in these last two matches.
No,
he's been absolutely massive.
So moving on to the Bold, SAFC went up to Austin Bold Stadium.
So did we.
All of us went. Fought the traffic and won. Some of us won. Roy said,
I did not. That was in my phone. I literally deleted Google Maps. I have Waze now. I have changed my, Let's not talk about that.
I need a Garmin.
I got a phone, dude. I got an iPhone. iPhones are fine. Anyway, continue.
So SAFC won 3-0, 2 PKs and a Jose Gallegos goal. late to put it away. Lineup wise, SAFC came out this way here. Same back four, or
Exact same.
Guardy,
It's the exact same lineup.
Same exact lineup here all the way through. I think the only change really was Ollie wasn't on the bench for this one,
Yep.
and
Hapiao was.
And Hapiao was on the bench, although didn't play either for that here. So I love that we have Gleedle and Maloney. It just makes me feel good.
Huge.
That the fullbacks are set.
The warm fuzzies. Yep.
And then the center backs. You've got 3, 4 that you can rotate. Really, 5. That really you could really rotate in there and feel confidence with. Get PC in there. I think this team rocks. But thoughts on the Bold match here? Started with a PK in the 30th minute with Quayle.
Panenka. Yeah. Dirty. Dirty.
We were right there. It was
dirty.
I was
right
nice.
there
with the phone. Filmed the whole thing.
Nathan got a PK in the second half. We'll do the halves here. So first half, like I said here, Quayo got its goal here, but to me, what stuck out
let me okay, real quick. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Completely skipped it. El Paso match. We had 3 yellow cards. Cam, Schuberg, and Mo were the 3 yellow cards in the El Paso match. Now let's fast forward to the Austin match. Let's do the first half Austin Bold yellow card count. You ready? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 6 yellow cards for Austin Bold in that first half, which really points to a San Antonio FC domination of that half for sure.
And which prompted the Bold to have to make 3 subs at half, to do that. Now they only ended up getting 1 more in the second half, which was an important one, but
correct
they had. So we'll start with you, Rafa.
Arguably should not have been a yellow, but go ahead.
Thoughts, Rafa, on the first half of the Bold SAFC match there, where the only score was technically a penalty, but and it could just be with the Bold. I didn't really feel like they had a couple of chances, but Gleedle, shut down, Gordon. In my opinion, I love I could watch those two going back and forth just with the speed. And the
pace, just pace on pace. Those dudes are so fast.
Good. The only thing Gleedle doesn't have to worry about is Gordon can't shoot. So
that's what we were saying. And then what did he do? So it was kind of a funny moment.
Omar will put the assist up though.
Exactly. Hold on. That's what I was getting to. We're all standing next to each other. Omar goes on a run and blows past Gleedle. Gleedle's trying to catch up to him. And what does Rafa do? The really stupid thing to where you want to hit him on the back of the head. He goes, "Oh, don't worry, Gordon can't shoot." So what does he do? He crosses right to their number 9, and their number 9 rifles a volley right into Cardoni's hands, luckily. But I was like, really, Rafa, you're going to say that? And he's going to cross it and almost get an assist.
Well, Gordon has to be like John Stockton and give the pass. He just can't shoot. So.
John Stockton was a 3 shooter. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but he can shoot.
He's one of the greatest 3 shooters of all time.
He doesn't want to be like LeBron and get the final shot or whatever.
John Stockton's name. Good Lord. Anyway, continue, Harry. No, sorry.
But I think that you can tell we were the aggressor in the first half. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And I think they learned from the first game. That first game on July 3rd. That game was probably really just a bad game for us, and just wasn't nothing was going for us. Even if they had a man down, like I said, Austin having a man down, we just couldn't do anything. I think they started doing stuff from what they did in the game against El Paso. I said, hey, let's keep on doing this. Let's play the balls out on the wings, and we're getting a lot of chances, especially on the wings. And that did open up that first goal, playing that ball, that little through ball down the middle. We were getting more space, and like I said, Quayle got that. He needs to shoot the ball a little bit quicker, but he's lucky he got fouled. So you got that PK, nasty little PK he did on the Bulls keeper. But hey, we got the lead, and we're just hoping hopefully we don't have like a 1-0 game like we had in San Antonio But like I said, they held on. Austin didn't really have much as far as of a threat. They had a couple chances, but nothing that Cardoni could handle. And then, like I said, the car, you can tell they were frustrated, and that's when they started getting those cards. And that really changes the complexion of the game. And San
But they
Antonio
got cards early, though. They got cards
yeah,
in the
and
12th, 20th, 23rd, 29th, 37th, and 40th. So
yeah,
they
that
had
changed
cards
everything.
littered
Yeah.
all the way
Yep.
through.
And it
that,
was
like I
because they were trying to stop our attacks because we were running right by them and they did not know what was going on. So the big difference between that July 3rd match and this my 34th birthday match, that's what I'm going to call it. It's official. Don't worry about it. Hashtag we want 4. Was we had the freedom to attack and run all over them because we had a 6 and we had somebody to defend in the midfield. And that was the biggest difference in the match right there. Mo shut down everything that came at him, and he got in the heads of the Austin team because instead of coming in the middle, they kept coming to the ends. They used Omar's and the dude on the right. It doesn't matter. Omar Gordon's better than anybody on that team. They utilized them to go to the end line and cross. How many crosses, you might ask? Not
many?
10, not 20, not 25, 30.
30 crosses.
Austin Bold had 30 crosses in that match. To give you some perspective, in the match that we played before, both teams did not even combine to get 30. We had El Paso and SAFC combined to have 29 crosses in the match, the previous match, I guess that Wednesday before. And we that was a heavy crossing match because both teams plugged up that midfield. And so both teams wanted to cross a lot. So that just gives you some insight how much Austin was basically their only option to attack was to cross. They could not go through the middle. And so they had to cross, and they had to kind of, it's a term in photography that kind of had to spray and pray. That's what they did, and their prayers were not answered. And that's kind of what happened there.
Here's my question for you. How much of a difference does it make to have Maloney and Gleedle back there? Because I think before the midfield was having to kind of help cover for, PC, Lima, whoever was kind of filling that role. To me, Maloney coming back, and he was captain in this game here and captain for a reason.
Absolutely.
To me, he makes, I know we always talk about PC being the guy, and he's very important, don't get me wrong, but Maloney coming back, I think it opens up so much more, especially on the midfield, where they're not having to sit back, and it gives them that freedom that you're talking about.
It's only what I've been saying this entire season to not panic about Alan Marcina and his coaching was that we needed 2 people to be healthy. We needed PC and we needed Maloney, and this team is the best team in the division. Case in point, QED. Maloney coming back, as a captain, and he is the inspirational captain for this team, shut everything down that came his way. Gleedle had a little difficulty with Omar Gordon. Secondarily, who the hell doesn't have trouble with Omar Gordon and his speed? Because that dude is fast as crap. Surprised they did not compete
still shut
in
him
the
down,
Olympics,
though.
But he still got shut down.
He
No,
contained
even with
him.
that
He
speed-
contained him.
He contained him. Correct. And the only option he had was the cross. That's the whole point of this, was 30 crosses. SAFC had 10, and we scored 3 goals. They had 30 crosses. Like, I can't explain to you how much desperation that shows from them, that they could not get to the middle, so they just had their 1 or 2 guys try to get on the ends of crosses against a dude that's 6'7". Like, A, that's a bad game plan on Austin, but B, that's all they had. That was their only option. They couldn't really do anything in the middle because we dominated them that badly. So, but
your thoughts on the PK? We'll go with you, Rafa, because some of the complaints that I've heard, and they're just, they're like me on Twitter, hey, it shouldn't have been against El Paso. It's called. It is what it is. Your thoughts on the PK? Because I won't lie to you, when I watched it on replay, I was like, that was close to being outside the box when the contact started, for that here. But your thoughts on the PK valid? solid all the way through.
That was valid because if he doesn't foul him, Quayle's got a goal. He was about to take that shot. So, and I was a little surprised. I know he got the yellow. I don't think it was at the last defender. I think there was another one next to him, but which could have been a red if he was the last defender. But you can see on the play, Quayle was about to take that shot, and that's when he got clipped in the back. I mean, that defender from Austin had no choice, but to to take a chance, and hopefully their keeper was going to stop the PK. So it was an obvious PK for us. So it's a legitimate foul.
So I'd like to point out first of all that Harry's definitely not a Cristiano Ronaldo fan because he just drank Coca-Cola right there on the on the pod. But
I am not. I am Team Messi.
Agua.
There is no discussion. Me and AJ will debate that all day.
I have my pins in it, but café. There you go. Anyway, going through this whole controversy thing, two things. Number one, the contact may have started just outside the box or on the line, but it continued. If you foul outside the box and that's all that the contact happens, it's outside. But when you continue the contact inside, it's a PK. It's pretty simple how that rule is stated. A foul. It doesn't say the foul has to start outside the box. It just says a foul in the box is a PK. Secondarily, Quayle. The one thing that Quayle has needed this season is confidence. And he is one of the most talented players in the USL. And he's been looking for confidence. He's had to play basically as a 6, basically as an 8. That is not his natural position. He's had to defend a lot when he's not a natural defender. That's been tough for him, and you can really tell. And now that he's playing as a 10, now that he has Lindley and he has Mo behind him, you can see how much freedom he's playing with and how much confidence he's getting. And to the result of he did the dirtiest Panenka in this.
Here, I think the highlights will show this here. So.
Let's
roll the tape. So this is where
roll that beautiful bean footage.
Here, coming in on goal, tackle from behind. The referee points to the spot. Quayle came into the box.
So even he was pointing outside the box.
Here's pointing.
It was a beautiful ball from deep. I think it was from
there.
The
that's
Quayle
where
made the run, and Fabian Garcia.
That's a PK, man. And dirty.
Quayle with the Panenka right
Las
down
Blanco.
the middle. The Argentine
got those
shows
Blancos.
class and puts San Antonio ahead 1-0.
And that's, you can tell how much confidence
it worked out.
Getting for playing
That's
the
a
10,
great
playing his
penalty.
natural position. And as an SAFC fan, you can't be anything but, oh man. Even the keeper looks back like, he's doing the Ricky Bobby, I'm flipping through the air right now. This is not good. So yeah, and then the second goal, it was coming right up there. The second goal happens. Nathan gets sprung by
Here you go. I got it
by
here.
Quayle. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, beautifully weighted ball.
Well, we can hear it.
Around
Can't see
Panico,
it.
got a touch to it.
Yeah, you got to put the screen up.
Come on, I've seen others do this here as long as we give credit to
That's correct.
on here with it.
Credit goes
on
to USL Championship highlights.
US
Correct. And-
Championship highlights.
correct.
So
I think a little further back because we don't see the pass. Pass is about to happen, so a little bit further back. That's good. All right. All right.
21-year-old.
Oh,
through three
beautifully weighted
defenders.
ball.
what a ball!
Around Panico, got
Yeah.
a touch to it,
Very clear.
and he got
And
more
that
than
should have
that,
been a red.
says the referee. Panico
Last
bringing
defender.
Nathan
That should have
down.
been a red.
Panico
That
with
should
the
have been a red.
yellow.
It's the yellow. Quayle again with a piercing ball. Great run from Nathan.
Clear red.
Obviously gets the touch and makes a meal out of the little bit of contact that Panico made, but he did make contact, and it's an obvious penalty for SAFC.
Certainly made contact, and you may be exactly right, Panico.
So this is something that we got to talk about there's no clear PK taker on this team.
Which is
Seems
not
like-
a bad thing.
Which, history says we don't make PKs. This year, that's not the case.
That's because we have quality PK takers. We don't have one of my favorite
The fighting Billy
San
Forbes.
Antonio. Yeah, we don't have one of my favorite San Antonio players of all time, and I don't want to disparage his name, but he's just not great at PKs.
Takes the shot and finishes.
And then there's Pico.
That's what he was trying to do against El Paso.
There's
but-
Pico. Yep. There goes that man.
Out of Central Catholic, right
There goes
there in
that
the
man.
Alamo City.
Does a great job to get the ball onto his favored right foot, puts it into the side netting. Nothing Panico could do about it.
So, and thank you to USL Championship.
Absolutely.
The highlights, Austin versus San Antonio on 7:31 and 21, and of course you can view these on YouTube as well for that here. So I thought it was to me, would you say it is the most complete performance so far on the year?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I'm going to reiterate this till I'm blue in the face. We're about halfway now through the season.
We are getting close to halfway. One more game, yeah.
Right. We're getting very close. The team looks really good. And this is what I've been kind of saying. And this is a very Harry thing to panic in the beginning. That's kind of what Harry does.
God, I'm blanking.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't blame you. It's just the role you play, man. Know who you are. This is when you want to start getting hot. This is when SAFC is starting to get hot. The most successful season in SAFC history was 2017, and we got hot in the very beginning of the season. Billy Forbes was the very first player of the month. We went undefeated for the first quarter of the season, and then we started getting hurt, and then we started not getting the results that we were in the beginning, and we just kind of floundered. We won our only playoff win in our history against Tulsa. And then we played OKC, and we could not
lost in PKs, going back to
could not
PKs.
kick a PK to save our lives. So that's kind of how that season went. And I have been hoping, and as is the team, to have a team that gets hot in the second half of the season and see how that goes in the playoffs. And we're starting to see that happen before our eyes. So you can be nothing but excited right now for this team.
Rafa, your thoughts on the Bull, just to kind of wrap it up before we turn to El Paso again, but a preview.
It was a great win. I mean, kind of like a little mirror image of the game versus New Mexico, but with a little more sauce. Because it was sweet to get a little revenge, from the other game. Well, it's revenge also with the New Mexico game, but this had a little more sauce as far as touching the ball. Having Maloney in there, especially in the attacks, and like I said, Nathan creating chances and Gallegos finishing. So this is the type of, I think this is the level we need to be at, and the intensity we have to bring every single game. And if we play like this, there's not a team I don't think that can beat us. I know we're still missing a few pieces. But once those pieces come back, and if we're starting to get on a roll, that's just going to be a little extra for us. And like I said, you already mentioned about RGV kind of floundering around already. They're getting hit with the injury bug.
They're starting to get hit with more injuries, especially at the top. Yeah.
Who's to say that it doesn't happen to El Paso and New Mexico this next 2 months? And we, like I said, we're not done as far as for us. Can we see us being at the top spot? I think we can. At the very end.
It's going to be difficult to get there.
If El Paso's got a 10-point,
but yeah.
El Paso's got a 10-point lead right now. Yeah. Which it's not impossible because we got 3 matches against them. So if you were able to win those, you can close that gap up.
6-point swings in a hurry. Yeah.
The issue is El Paso's gonna, to me, San Antonio, as we talked earlier, is the deepest team. They've been able to muddle their way through the injury bug. I think with everybody's schedule, they're going to have an injury bug. It's just how deep of a team they are and how well that they can handle it. And that's going to be the interesting point to see if RGV is starting to experience a little bit of injuries up top, and hopefully nothing serious. But if they're playing the 41-year-old out there, timekeeper, I would not object that for that here. But
I mean, if you imagine Soniak down for El Paso, who else do they have? That's a key. Or Diego Luna goes down.
El Paso's dealing with a little bit of injuries, so I think they're the one team that I think is a little bit deeper. And I think we're going to talk about more with the news and notes with the bold. They're not deep at all, and in fact, you got to kind of wonder if they're starting to wave the white flag a little bit, for that here. And then New Mexico is a fairly solid team here. One of the big things that I really like about this year is when we typically face a team a second time, the results tend to be a little bit more favorable, which I think going into El Paso, even if it's on the road, I think San Antonio at least gets a point out of this match here. I think they are a deeper team. I think they have the ability to score points. El Paso on a baseball field, and when you see the game on here, the bases are, the bases are brown, the base path, for the baseball field. So it'll be interesting for it here. The next game on Sunday, RGV down in RGV. Last match of the year against RGV. Your thoughts on going down and facing RGV for the final time for San Antonio to get the tiebreaker against RGV. They need to win. They need to win, number one. Number two, they need a 2-goal win to be able to have the clear tiebreaker advantage for that here. And yeah, Coach, you are correct here. There is a 10-point gap, and El Paso does have 1 game advantage on us here for that here. So only one. They played 14, we played 15. But we're starting. Those matches are going to get start to get added up fairly quickly. Yeah.
I think this game Sunday is important. For us to get the 3 points, we need to steal those 3 points. And, especially with the tiebreaker situation that we have, we do need to get another convincing win like we had on Saturday. So, and then also this is probably the opportune time, since if RGV is kind of hurting a bit right now, this is the opportune time to take advantage of it and get to steal those 3 points, especially on this road trip. So I think the guys will be focused. They'll be ready to go, take care of business. I think they want to get that little bad taste out of their mouth, especially the last time we played them, those 2 ties, which we should have won those 2 games. It's time to steal one from them, and then hopefully we can get like a 3-0 win, and that'll get us.
I'll take a 2-0 win.
3-1. I'll take a 5-0
gotta win by 2 to get the tie. You gotta win by 2 to get the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I mean 3, 4, 5-0. As long as we beat them more than 2, hey, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, so we 100% lost internet, so I'm on cell phone power now. So,
oh no,
good times.
Storms, or
I think so. I think the storms are affecting Google, which is fine. Do it. I'm on my phone. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we'll wrap it up here real quick here then. Any final thoughts that you have on the RGV match here, Royce?
For the El Paso and the RGV match, it'll be interesting to see how RGV comes out if they go full defense. I'm looking forward to it because I think this is the match that we're finally going to match up to them really well, especially if we stay healthy. I think we're going to match up really well with them. I'm actually really looking forward to it. The El Paso match will be interesting. It'll be a much more compact game because they are going to be on the baseball field. So it'll be interesting to see what Marcina comes up with to try to counter that. we have not played well on baseball fields this season. The only other match was against New Mexico. We lost 2-0. But once again, we did not have a 6 to plug in the middle, and that's where they got their goal. So
Now for that game, do you go instead of playing a 4-2-3-1, do you go with a 3-5-2? If it's going to be kind of tight, compact, that way we don't allow them to get anything in the middle. You know, what do you think we should go to that formation, or kind of stick to what we've been doing?
that would be really interesting if we went back to that. And it depends on what forwards are healthy. I think that's going to be very important. As of right now, you have the one because you have Nathan up there. It'll be interesting to see if they want to pair up Nathan and Dylan in like in the 2-3-5, I guess it would be, or a 3-5-2. It'd be very interesting to see that. That's a good point, and it'll be interesting to see what
Because I can envision maybe a Gallegos Nathan up top.
Yeah.
And then Cuello, Epps, and maybe even Lima, because just for the to get something compact, and then and then Abu and Glidel in the back, or whatever combination. Because in the back three will probably have Axel, Maloney. We're gonna do Axel, Maloney, and Glidel.
Yeah, you could have the 3, and that would really shore up. What that would do is it could allow one of the center backs to go key on Lucho to really eliminate him and neutralize him, and it would also leave you with basically kind of a 4 in the back. So you could go like a 4-1, a 4-on-4, and basically just have a roving 1 go around wherever the hell Lucho goes to keep up with them, and then you have your 4 right in front. So it'd basically be, that'd be interesting. It would be an interesting twist, and I'm fascinated to see what Marcina decides to do. It's a really big road trip. We can make up a lot of ground right now. We are in a playoff spot, and we really want to see this get solidified and concreted. And it would be really cool if we got a playoff match at home. So
let me go over the
secure that
standings real quick, and then we'll kind of go into the the notes and kind of recap on other topics here. So in the East, there's a new leader, the Riverhounds, 30 points. If you look at the Rowdies, they're on a rough form here. Lost 4 of their last 5.
Rowdies also have 2 games in hand, so
2 games in hand, but we're going by standings here, buddy.
Fair. I'm just saying.
So you got to win them, and looking at their form, they're not winning.
No, they're not. They're not even drawing, which is rough.
Miami came back impressive. They were down 2-0 to Charleston, and actually had Charleston with the win at half. And of course, that's the last thing that you do. The Fighting Billy Forbes came back to get the 3-2 win and back into third place.
That Billy Forbes free kick was chef's kiss. Very nice. Attaboy, Billy.
So,
Hashtag Billy being Billy.
Billy's awesome, dude. Hartford lost to Pittsburgh. Dixon had the brace against them. Red Bulls, who San Antonio faces next, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday in New York. Not good, guys. 13 points, 3-8-4, 19 goals for, 33 allowed, negative 14 goal difference. Yes. So it'll be it's a long road trip, but through there, and then of course you got Loudoun, on par with them. I think they're on a 6-game winless streak here, if memory serves me correct. In the Central, we have Louisville City at the top, Birmingham Legion. Memphis is technically in third because they have the tiebreaker over Tulsa. Although if you look at the USL website, they have flopped. It wrong.
Yep.
Atlanta United, OKC Energy. Basically, I think they're down to the flip of a coin for it here. I tried going through the tiebreakers, and there was no winner.
I think it's best 2 out of 3 rock, paper, scissors at this point. I think that's what it says.
Well, they're going to do Friday Night Lights of the coin.
The shock is Indy 11 down in 7th. They only got 14 now. They've got games in hand, so they could come back. But through there, and then of course Sporting Kansas City through there. Out west in the Pacific, it's the Rising show. There's no question. Rising defeated RGV this past week, 3-1. 14 games, already have a 7-point gap. Orange County, Loyal, 25, 24 points. And then there's a gap between a mess of 4 teams, Tacoma, Sacramento, Vegas, Galaxy, and then, the Roots. Thanks for playing. At least they got turf coming. They showed pictures of some new turf coming.
Important
for that here. And then in the mountain, as we kind of hinted already, El Paso, 31 points, only 1 loss on the year. They're on excellent form. RGV, 25 points.
2 losses. Yep.
25 points. New Mexico, 1 game prior, 22 points. Then 3 teams are tied at 21. San Antonio has the tiebreaker, has already won the tiebreaker over Colorado Springs, and with the 3-1 or 3-0 win over the Bold, they have the tiebreaker right now over Austin Bowl, and then Real Monarchs, big gap, 13 points, although San Antonio has drawn them twice here, so hopefully that can change when we play them again.
Mm-hmm.
So for that here stuff.
If we beat El Paso and then RGV this week, we could be in second place after Sunday.
Yep.
No, because we'd be at 24 points.
No,
if we get the 6 points,
yeah, we get 6. Yep.
Yeah, but RGV plays Real Monarchs, so
and Real's gonna win, baby. Real's gonna win.
It's away. It's away, but yes, technically it can. And El Paso also plays. I want to say they play a second match against. I want to say it's against Austin Bold as well. So Austin, RGV, and San Antonio, each with 2 games this week. So that San Antonio El Paso match is a very important piece in order to see if San Antonio can kind of help close that gap.
Yep.
For that here. Copa Tejas, we did finally get a win. We're still ahead on max points of RGV, but if El Paso gets this win this week, if they sweep this week, you can pretty much ship the trophy to El Paso, because I don't think anybody's catching them. I hate to say that, but for Copa Tejas, and thank you, Aaron, for your post. I copy it and put it all nice and pretty on here.
Nice work, Aaron.
News and notes. Interesting today. Austin Bowl loans Jason Johnson to Tulsa. And you might be thinking Austin Bowl with that great offensive attack, who's only scored 13 goals, sending away one of their top talents. Although he's only played 8 games, he was on the bench against SAFC but did not play. I find that move kind of interesting. Do you think that the Boulder kind of starting to pack it in, or you think it's just
I think Epstein's looking for money because he's going to sell the team, so he's going to make as much money as he can. It's pretty obvious the writing's on the wall. They're not going to win anything, so I think he's just trying to make money at this point, unfortunately.
And I do think that Jason's, there's 2 things. One, he had an incident, a possible incident in with Real Monarchs. I also think he doesn't necessarily fit their system as well. Coming from the Phoenix system where he had a lot of success. I think Tulsa doesn't quite play that quick, but they do play quicker than Tulsa. Much. Jason Johnson was the first multi-goal scorer for San Antonio FC. So I always wish him luck no matter where he goes for that here. Royce might like this one here. Christian Fuchs, loaned from Charlotte FC, who is going to be the next MLS team that you're going to hate, to Charlotte Independence. And Fuchs is a former captain of the Austrian national team and helped Leicester City win the EPL. So thoughts on
Leicester? Come on, man. Leicester. Just Leicester.
Come on, man. Come on. So thoughts on a EPL winner playing in USL? And a DP, right? I think he's a DP.
Yeah, it's cool. What can you say? It's cool. It'll be cool to see him in the league. So,
Rhode Island. Oh shoot, Rhode Island. Man, I shouldn't hit that. They break ground on their new stadium, 7,500, with the start in USL Championship in 2013,
2023,
or 2023. TV ratings. Since we were on ESPN2, you could actually get a little bit of ratings. 52,000 turned in. It seems like MLS averages about 150 to 2,000.
They average 150 to 200,000 on weekends. This was on a Wednesday night,
right? On ESPN. This was on ESPN2 as well, just to kind of caveat that. So I think it's a good showing. 52,000.
Pretty good.
Pretty good here. Here's where we'll probably stop and have some discussion. Unfortunately, the U.S. women's national team lost early this morning to Canada, 1-0 on a PK. Canada will face Sweden for the bronze on August 5th at 3 a.m. We will be going against Australia and our good friend Chris and his team. For me, and I've said this, and me and Danielle's kind of gone back and forth. I think it was a mistake to send the World Cup team over to the Olympics. I think we should have been, looking at kind of turning that page over to the younger teams. Because if this World Cup, or if this Olympics was played last year, you wouldn't have had this same roster that moved over. You would have had a younger roster, probably a little bit more hungry. And I'm not saying that the ladies didn't play hungry, but there was something missing on this team. I don't, there was no doubt about it. They just didn't have that same it factor. Your thoughts, Royce, on the women's national team dropping out and not going for the gold, but we'll settle for possibly bronze?
Honestly, I think they were tired. They just played a lot of soccer in the last few years. They also took, an aging core. I think they needed the younger, more exciting kids to go to get an opportunity. I just think it was the wrong lineup that Vlaco sent. So,
here's a question. Here's my thoughts on this. Do you think with the Olympics, how the men's is a U23 and they invite, I think, like 3 older players? Do you think it's time for the women's soccer for the Olympics be a straight U23 so that could develop those players for something that won't happen, actually, especially in the World Cup?
Only a very select few teams could actually pull that off. So
they're still not deep enough yet.
I don't think a lot of teams are deep enough to be successful in that way.
And deep enough, I mean by country wise,
Exactly.
because this was 4 groups, 16 teams, and there were probably 8 to 10 of them that were probably fairly competitive, and others were, it was awesome to be there because you take a look at it here, the group that U.S. was in, 3 out of the 4 you made it to the Final Four. Along those lines. Gold Cup kind of wrapping up. U.S. gets the victory, 1-0. We'll go with you, Royce. Team United States, and then we'll go with you, Ralph. Team Mexico recap.
Is exciting to see. This was a really competition to see who is going to be kind of the backups for World Cup qualifying as well as going to the World Cup. I guess next year. That's insane. And it's good that they have really made Berhalter's job harder to see who he's going to take. There are a lot of really good performances in this tournament. It's always really good when you have a team that can play in a tournament together to get that experience of going through a tournament together. And at the same time, the U.S. defended really well. The ref had some really questionable decisions that I guess he wasn't brave enough to give deserved red cards, which there were 2 pretty clear incidences that Mexico deserved it. And it went to extra time.
Here's my question for you on that. When that kick happened, did anybody believe that was going to be a red card? I didn't. It should have been, but I'm so I'm so conditioned to the refereeing in CONCACAF and in the United States to where I was like, this is Mexico. This is towards the end of the game. He's not going to call it.
Acha is so known for grabbing people's necks and getting away with it that he just does it all the time because he knows he's going to do it with impunity. It's embarrassing, and they need to review that because
we'll let Rafa, retort.
According to letters of the law, that's any contact with the face or neck, and aggression. That's a red card. Anyway, U.S. they'll settle in cups and tournaments this summer, so
they're still not the kings of CONCACAF. at CONCACAF, in my opinion.
It feels
I'm
good to be
sorry.
back on top. It feels good to be back on top. Okay. Time out. I need to respond real quick before Rafa goes. Matt with the U.S. park the bus. No, dude. No, there was no parking the bus. They were attacking each way. The game most of the time was back and forth for most of the match. There was no parking the bus. I don't know where that comes from. I think it's because people think the lesser team is going to park the bus, which there were no lesser team. The Mexico B+ team was equal to the USC team. That's just kind of how it went in this match. Mexico just, I don't know what it was. They put a lot of balls on frame. They created a lot of chances. Matt Turner turned them all away. Matt Turner was huge. And the other two huge players in this match were Kellen Acosta, who dominated the midfield, and Miles Robinson, who won player of the match deservedly because he was huge in this match and he scored the goal. So Rafa, go ahead with the Mexican.
For me,
fans'
I'm not too worried about it because if you look at the championships, it's rotating every 2 years. The last one was won by Mexico. Then the year before was won by the U.S. So everybody hits the reset button. I think the U.S. hit the reset button when they make the World Cup, and that's why I think they invested in with the youth movement. Mexico's going to do the same. I think they're going to do the same thing. I think Salcedo's, to me, on my space, Salcedo is trash.
Salcedo's bad. I mean, he got subbed in and subbed out. He's really
trash. Bad. Chaka, he needs
not good enough.
What my perspective on this is the team that's going to play this morning against Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those players. I think had they not, I think if those players, this would have been interesting because if there was no Olympics, like let's say they played the Olympics last year, maybe some like players like Cordova, Henry Martin, Diego Lainez, who are under 23s. Right. Those are the players you want as far as development. I think Tata needs to understand that, hey, when you're going into World Cup qualifying, these are the players that you need to have. As far as you got to have some young, hungry players that are going to go out and play with guts. And for me, when I caught the second half, I didn't see any effort or any passion. They were just running through the motions. There was a couple players that they did play, but
See, I disagree with that, and I'm going to ask you a question as well.
There's a couple of them.
When Ache is going to kick people in the head, I don't get they just had no passion. They didn't want to be there. It's like, no,
that should have been a red. I think so. It should have been a red. It should have been a red because it's similar. I mean, it's similar.
That should have been called on the Austin Bolt goalkeeper.
It's similar to the. If you remember from the
Jesus, right? Gabriel Jesus, right?
Yeah, it was similar to. I think the reason why he didn't give him a red because it wasn't on the face; it was more towards the back of the head. But that's not excusable anyway.
No, he didn't give him a red because of the crowd and because of the timing of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
If that would have happened in the first half, he would have gave him a red.
Yeah.
Clear as day.
Now the ref did not have the courage to do his job. That's it. That's the reason.
No, there was.
And that was going to be my. Coach Cano brings up my other point. There's a lot of grumbling that a lot of Mexican fans want Tata Martino to get sacked. Do you agree with that?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you understand, like with the Mexican Federation, how they pick their coaches. They're still.
It's either going to be Piojo or they're going to go back to Juan Pablo.
Oh no. It's selected by all the owners of the team of the Liga MX teams.
Right. It's the Caballeros.
Agreement. My thing. Court. If they were gonna make a change, but I don't think it's possible now, would have been Tuca Ferretti. I don't think so. But it's not. He's not gonna do it because he's not with FC Juarez.
Nope.
If I'm gonna make a change and if I'm gonna make a splash, and you probably think I'm crazy about this, but I think he didn't get it. No. Well, I'm actually going to talk about someone that really made this team as far as the going with the youth movement, as far as building the youth programs. To me, I'd go with Jurgen Klinsmann.
No.
If I'm the Mexican
That
Federation,
would be hilarious. Please do.
well,
Please do.
I love
would go-
Jurgen, but
here's the reason why you want
Good Julian.
But here's the reason why. If you look what he did with the youth programs, he really took it up a notch there. He just didn't get the fair shake as far as completing. I think had they stuck to him a little bit more, I think he would have gone the results. But if you look, but he's a good as far as developing players, he can do that, and I think he can help with Mexico. Especially, here's the thing with Mexico that the U.S. youth hasn't done. Mexico's won two junior the World Cups for the youth teams, for the U17s and the U20s,
Correct.
and they've won an Olympics. So I think bringing him in, he can really
Gold medal.
mold those players, and then really kind of get those players to play more in Europe, which the U.S. has.
See, I completely.
It sounds crazy, but
no, I disagree from what everything I've heard and from when he's been a head coach basically everywhere, is that he tells you a formation, but he has no specific instructions. He has no actual tactical.
See, that was the problem
that
was the problem with the previous coach with Mexico. He just couldn't stick to a set lineup. With Osorio, Juan Osorio. Yeah, he could not stick with his
what
lineup.
Osorio did a lot of genius things, but he overthought everything.
Mm-hmm.
The most genius thing that he did was he had everybody on Mexico, and this was when Mexico won.
They beat the Germany game.
No, it was against the U.S. I think they won like 2-0 against the U.S. But basically, what happened was they clearly set up in a 4-3-3 before the kick, and they got the kick of the initial kick of the ball when the game begins, the kickoff, and they were clearly in a 4-3-3. And everybody pushed up. The fullbacks pushed up, the midfielders pushed up, the forwards pushed up, and they kicked it long. And when they kicked it long, they kicked it kind of out of bounds, and they switched formations. They went directly to a 3 in the back, so they went to a 3-4-3, and that completely changed everything against the U.S. And the U.S. didn't know what they were doing. Michael Bradley kept going over the side, and I think it may have been Jurgen's last game. And Michael Bradley kept telling Jurgen, what do we do? This isn't working. They just changed formations. What do we do? And Jurgen Klinsmann, and not as important of a moment, but he kind of did a George W. Bush when 9/11 was happening, where he just kind of sat there and was like, I'm just going to continue reading this book to these kids. I'm going to completely forget that I'm the leader of the free world right now. And that's Klinsmann did the same thing. He just kind of sat on his hands, and that was a really bad comparison. I apologize, but you get the sentiment.
But I think like for say, if you're gonna change the coaches, for me, I think he could be a good option as far as developing. If you're gonna develop your players,
right,
to eventually do that. But as of right now, for World Cup qualifying,
which is what I was going to ask you with Kano's question.
I stick
with them. Yeah,
you stick with them, but you get rid of the players. You bring in hungry players. You're bringing in Cordova.
Well, you definitely get rid of Saucedo. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring in, like, if you watch, hopefully if you get to watch the replays today, whether they win or lose against Brazil, they're two young center backs. I think they need to get called up to the first team. If I'm Tata too, I need to kind of swallow my pride and sit down with Carlos Vela and iron this out.
What about Chicharito?
And hit now that Raul Jimenez,
I think he would have made a difference in this.
We'll see what Raul
he would have made a difference in this World Cup.
He would have. Yeah, I think they made a mistake.
Probably not World Cup, but Gold Cup.
Yeah, they made a mistake bringing Pizarro in. They should have brought in Chicharito in. But that's more because of ego. He needs to fix the ego. But eventually, like I said, Mexico's going to learn from this. They always do, and then make those corrections. And honestly, the World Cup, as far as World Cup qualifying, here's my prediction: it's going to be the U.S., Mexico, Canada, and Costa Rica. I think those are the four that are going to go in.
So I got one question before we get to the final thoughts. David Ochoa, the Real Salt Lake, Real Monarchs goalie, going to switch to, according to sources, switch to Mexico. I'm not worried about from the U.S. standpoint because I think out of the one positions we are, goalkeeping tends to be one where we're very deep on.
The reason he switched is because what Matt Turner just did in the Gold Cup period, and he does not see a way in, and obviously there's no way in.
And he's going to get a chance with Mexico because.
Do you think he will?
Yeah,
eventually he will.
Ochoa's aging. Talavera's not that good. Yeah,
Talavera's okay, but then here's another surprise that came over the weekend. I watched the highlights of the Club America game. Their backup goalkeeper is that damn good, and he's already getting pushed. So, hey, why not him in the Mexican national team? And I saw him firsthand at the game in the Alamo Dome. This guy was making unbelievable saves. So there's going to be some competition, but I think he did make the right choice because eventually I think they will use him for some of the kind of the warm up friendly games. Maybe hopefully he'll sneak into the next World Cup, the 2026 one. I think he could end up being the future goalie for them.
And that's another thing is like I was saying, that's kind of what I was getting at was the Mexican core of goalkeepers is really aging and the U.S. core of goalkeepers is really young with Ethan, with Zach, and obviously with Matt Turner. They're both in their 20s.
And that's what happened with the U.S. national team with their goalkeepers.
When you had Guzan, you had Howard, you had that real young core that came up after Keller and
Mignola.
I want to say Heineman. It's not Heineman. I can't think of. Also a bald dude. Big surprise. Bald U.S. goalkeepers, Guzan and Howard.
And you really want to have a stable.
Marcus Heineman is one of them. Anyway, and then Brad Friedel was the other guy. But anyway, yeah.
You want to have a stable, at least 4 good goalkeepers that you can call up.
Right.
And
exactly.
I think that's why he kind of realized that, and that's why I think he's like, okay, I have a better shot coming here.
That's correct. The U.S. pool is just deeper and younger. Anyway, let's get the final thoughts. I hear my kid losing his crap. So.
Final thoughts, Royce, and then you can leave.
I just want to say shout out to SAFC and shout out to Coach Marcina for wishing me a happy birthday. It's kind of a weird thing, but kind of made my day. It's kind of cool.
I didn't get that.
There you go. Anyway, I appreciate it. It was cool. Thanks to you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for my family for letting me go and getting lost with Google Maps because Google Maps sucks. So I'm a believer in Waze. I've converted to Waze. Google Maps just got me lost in Austin. I was tired of it. Yep. And speaking of, I'm out, guys. Y'all have a good one and go SAFC on Wednesday. All right. We'll see y'all.
Rafa, your final thoughts?
Just gonna say final thoughts. Fun time in Austin. Like I said, it was a good.
It's an underrated experience.
Thanks for the ball. So a little more food choices, SAFC. You might want to look into that too. But final thoughts is going into this week. Hopefully, we can get the 6 points against El Paso, get some revenge, and with both RGV and El Paso. So hopefully we can get that, and just look forward to other things. As far as work, I know my work's coming soon, so excited about that. And then everybody make sure to take care of yourself, get yourself vaccinated because that thing's kind of coming back, kind of creeping up, and just
if you're not vaccinated, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're in trouble. So take care of that. And like I said, I don't have to worry about. Like I said, Mexico will bounce back. We'll win in 2023. That's how history shows on the timeline.
It does. So do you think they should do it every 4 years?
See, here's my thing. I think they should end the Gold Cup, and I think they should.
No, you can't end it.
Here's my point. I think they should end it and get your best 6 teams from CONCACAF and put them in Copa America. I think that's a more beneficial. That'd benefit more the U.S., Mexico, and all the other teams because they will get you ready for qualification and also get you ready for the World Cup. You want to play top level teams. Those are the ones you're going to see. That I think that would be a better because we did experience it a couple years ago. I had fun going to those games, seeing like Costa Rica versus Colombia, also Mexico versus Venezuela. Those are some good quality games.
I would like to have it still every 4 years, but you would rotate it with that, with the other side being, the Copa Americas, whatever you want to call it, or, with CONMEBOL and CONCACAF, along those lines, have that, kind of the year of the Euros, along those lines there, where you got the Euros during the day, you got, the Western, North America, South America in the evenings, have it 16, 24 teams, whatever it is, whatever it is, you got to have some cupcakes in there, for that here. And I do think the Gold Cup is important, especially to some of the island teams, the Caribbean teams, to be able to try to get that opportunity to be able to, qualify along those lines. So, but I think if you did it every 4 years and have it maybe after the World Cup, so that way the Gold Cup would be kind of that first tournament after, where you're going to have a little bit of younger roster, where maybe the Caribbean teams may have a more senior laden roster compared to yours, and then you build up along those lines. For me, that's what I would love to see. But
or you just have a straight Caribbean Cup. I think Mexico, the United States, Canada, Costa Rica, even Honduras, and then maybe Panama. It'd be more beneficial playing in Copa America. You're just gonna play a lot better competition. It's just gonna make there's where you're gonna get the real test. You're not gonna be scoring 6 goals in Martinique. That doesn't really help you see how good you really are. I think CONCACAF should just make a Caribbean Cup and then have those 6 teams play the Copa America. But if you are going to continue doing the Gold Cup, I do want to see them switch venues. Yes. I think the Gold Cup should be in Mexico, and then rotate Canada, and then the U.S. I think they should rotate the 3. I like to see the Gold Cup final in Mexico City. I know it's a money grab. It's always has, but I think to be fair, if you're gonna have a Gold Cup, have it in one of those 3.
You could still have like the group play, let's say stateside, and then you could move the semifinals to Mexico or to Canada, or even if you did that, you could go to some of these, like Costa Rica, Honduras, and some of these smaller countries, and they would have to meet certain stadium requirements along those lines to make sure the infrastructure is there. But to me, you spread some of that wealth around. If you get the top 4 teams playing, in Costa Rica, in Jamaica, along those lines, people are still going to watch. The stands are still going to be full. You're going to have Mexico is going to travel. The United States will travel, especially going to Mexico or going to Canada, going to Jamaica, along those lines. People will travel, and like I said here, what they had, the semifinal, what was it? The semifinals the quarterfinals at Q2 Stadium, and it's a nice stadium. Or it was semifinal at Q2. It holds 20,000. So you can't tell me they can't have stadiums in Jamaica or other Central American countries that have at least 20,000 that would be able to host. And to me, you spread it around a little bit, because let's be honest, it's TV money that is what drives us. And that's the reason why I think, for South American teams, to me, I think it's in their best interest. Number one, you get outside of playing the same, because they're qualifying. It's always the same. They have 10 countries, I think, down there.
Yeah.
So it's the same. You're playing the same teams over and over. It gives you a little bit more variety. And to me, like I said here, I think it would improve the whole, the whole Americas up and down, for that, because Brazil's not going to struggle against the United States, but they're not struggling against the mid-level teams in South America anyways. No. But what it does is it may help the mid-level teams in South America, and help the U.S., Mexico along those lines to be able to say, okay, hey, if you're going to play Mexico, if you're going to play Argentina, it pushes, it shows, hey, the gaps that you need to do.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'd rather have a 16-team Copa America than the Gold Cup, because it's more beneficial. And like the last time that they had the Copa America here in the United States, there was a record number of fans, especially like the one game they had Argentina and the USA in Houston for I think it was the quarterfinal game.
Mhm.
That was a sellout game. But I know this year Copa America had to change venues. First, they had to first it was going to be in Colombia. That didn't happen. Then it went to Argentina. That didn't happen. And so it ended up in Brazil, which really didn't have any fans until I think to the final. So it'd probably be beneficial, like I say, if they have a Copa America in the United States again, because we have those big monster stadiums. Not that the Brazilians don't have them or Argentina don't have them, but it'd be beneficial for them. But it'll be also nice you could say, for us like to travel down there, like especially in Argentina, the Bombonera. That's an experience there to have a final there, or even the Maracanã there in Brazil. So I think that in the end it's going to be like I said, a benefit for those teams to play better competition, and then also to give you better evaluate where you're at.
So I'm getting the call as well here. So my final thoughts, and this is probably a theme that I try to do. Number one, Royston wasn't able to give his, but it's get vaccinated. The stats are out. Please do. My other final thought is one that I've kind of hinted on all year. If you need to talk to somebody, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. Hit somebody up on social media, whether it's me, other friends saying, hey, you need to talk, especially for men. Please do. Like I said here, mental health is not a joke. For here, I know, when I was a kid, it was, it was quote unquote a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. It's, as we've seen with, top athletes, in the Olympics, where, if you're not right, you're not right. So have the courage to step up, ask for help, talk, vent, whatever that you need. Please do that here. That's, just so important, for me this year is to kind of, help spread that word of, if you need to talk to somebody, please do, for that here. My other final thought here is, if you are going down to RGV, be safe. I think me and the Czechs are planning on going down. For that here, if you're going to El Paso, be safe. It's a longer drive. And you're probably already heading out for that here tomorrow morning for that here. So tune us in. Thank you for everybody that's tuned in. Coach Cano, Robert, Matt, enjoy the comments. BC Sports Dad, we saw you here. I know you said you'll hang up and listen. That's what our line to you for that here and your great show on Sunday mornings. For that here. So, but thank you everybody for tuning in. What's life without goals? We're out of here. Peace.